Hey everyone, I just started crocheting and through much trial and error, I was finally able to crochet an octopus. So I'm still a beginner, but I'll do my best to walk you through how I made this cute little octoplushie. For this project, I used a 5mm hook, which is the most common size, 2 stitch markers that, truthfully, I'm still struggling to use properly, and some pink velvet yarn from Joann's. It's so smooth and will make the plushie extra soft. I'm starting by making a magic circle with 6 single crochets. It's a pretty advanced method, but I wanted to try it because it looked like a really fast way to start this project. It's so funny watching this back because my form is pretty shaky. Everything looks loose and not as tight as I want it to be. I'm much better now, so you'll see that in future videos. Now I'm pulling the string, which makes it turn into a circle. This is why it's called a magic circle. There are other methods out there that are way easier to learn for beginners, like the chain method. Regardless of what method you use, you need a ring to start crocheting a plushie like this. So that was round 1, which was the circle. And now for round 2, I'm doing 6 increases, which will make the plushie bigger. An increase is 2 single crochets in the same loop. There are 6 loops, so I have to do it 6 times. In round 3, I'm doing a single crochet, followed by an increase, repeating this 6 times. By this round, I feel like I started getting more comfortable with the hook and yarn. In round 4, I'm doing 2 single crochets, followed by an increase, and repeating this 6 times. I'm moving kind of slow, but wanted to make sure I was counting properly and stitching in the right order. Round 5 is the last increase round. For this round, I'm doing 3 single crochets and 1 increase, repeating this 6 times. This results in 30 stitches for this round. One thing I didn't realize about crocheting is that I have to keep track of each stitch for each round. There's a lot of counting involved. It's very easy to mess up and have to start the round over if you forget your place. There's even counters you can get that track the rows. That's how serious it is. For round 6 and all the way through 11, I'm doing 30 single crochets per round. So essentially doing the same thing 6 times. I actually learned this pattern from Crochet by Jenna's tutorial on this plushie. I watched the video so many times and did lots of pausing and rewinding to really try and understand everything. I could have started with a basic tutorial on crocheting in general, but really wanted to make this plushie in particular. So instead, I studied her video, watching it frame by frame to understand what she was doing. She had really clear instructions, but I didn't even know what SC or INC meant, so I watched another channel, The Woogles, to learn the stitches, lingo, and abbreviations more in depth. It was quite the learning process, but looking back, I'm glad I decided to try and make the plushie instead of learning the basics first, because at the end of it, I had a finished plushie that I could squeeze and play with as opposed to a simple square patch. I finished the main part of the body, and now I need to do a few rounds of decreases to make a spear-like shape. And a decrease is basically 1 crochet in 2 loops, where an increase is 2 crochets in 1 loop. For round 12, I'm doing 3 single crochets and a decrease. What I did with increases, I need to do with decreases, but in reverse order. Round 13 is where I wanted to try something different than what was in Jenna's pattern, because in her video, she crocheted the tentacles in this round, then does the body. Using her method, the tentacles are kind of in the way when trying to do the rest of the body. Since I'm new, I figured that I complete the main body first, then go back and work on the tentacles at the very end. That's the nice thing about crocheting. There's so many ways to do the same thing. Eventually, I learned how to do it like Jenna, and now I know both ways. So here, I realized I hadn't flipped the plushie right side out, so I had to undo those stitches. Now with it oriented properly, I'll begin round 13 again, which is round 14 in Jenna's tutorial. I'm stitching 2 single crochets and a decrease in the back loops only to leave space for the tentacles. Once I finished that round, I brought out the safety eyes, which I got a big pack on Amazon for much cheaper than what was at Joann's. And to stuff it, I'm using this dry polyester packing filling. I'm placing the eyes between rows 8 and 9 and about 6 stitches apart. Stuffing the plushie is so satisfying. It signals that the end is almost near and I can sit back and enjoy my work. I didn't realize stuffing was such an art. Too much or too little can affect the shape, so I add medium-sized clumps until it feels right to me. Then I move on to the remaining decrease rounds. My round 14 is single crochet, decrease 6 times, and round 15 is just 6 decreases. And just so you know, I'm doing regular decreases, but there's also invisible decreases, which I hadn't learned at this point. I tried invisible decreases on a separate project after this one and loved the result. They look so much nicer on the velvet yarn. Now I'm going to finish this off by tying a knot, cutting the loose ends and stuffing those inside the plushie to hide it. I forgot to turn the camera back on for the final round for the tentacles, but the video I followed to make the tentacles is in the description box. Jenna's method was too advanced for me at the time, and I like that I could combine 2 different styles. The starting yarn was kind of dangling from the top of the head, so I just sewed into the plushie to hide it. And now I'm finishing off the tentacles. I did 5 half double crochets in each stitch. Unfortunately, my counting was off or something because I ended up with 6 tentacles instead of 8. But that's okay. This is truly a creation of my own. Now I'm doing the same thing as before and stuffing the finishing knot into the bottom of the plushie. And look how cute it is. I'm so proud of this one and can't wait to share more. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.